grade. Today we are starting lesson 6.6, linear functions, standard form, and slope-intercept form. Okay, so if you can open with me to textbook page 166, all right, I want you to pause this video and read over page 166 to 167 just to familiarize yourself with what it is that we're about to learn, okay? And then I also want you to copy down everything you see on this slide right here, okay? So, and then I'm going to explain it, all right? So you're going to write down forms of linear equations. So first you're going to write standard form, ax plus by equals c, and then the example, negative 3x plus y equals negative 10. Then you're going to write slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, and for the example, y equals 3x minus 10. And then I want you to note here, m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So I want you to pause this video, read textbook page 166 to 167 if you haven't already done so, and then copy down the slide. Ready, go. Okay, did you do it? Great. So now I'm going to explain standard form versus slope-intercept form. So what I want you to think of is every line has a name. We learned that, right? There's a slope and there's a y-intercept, okay, and it's going to have a certain position and a certain steepness on our graph. So every line on a graph has its own unique name. That's the first thing I want you to know, okay? When we name a line, these are two different ways we can name that line. Standard, we could call it its name in standard form or slope-intercept form. These are the same, you guys, all right? This represents the same line. So, for example, if I have ax plus by equals c, x and y are on the same side of the equal sign. See it? There's my equal sign, right? So negative 3x plus y or 1y equals negative 10. A here is negative 3, b is 1, c is negative 10. If I take negative 3x and bump it to the other side and set this to y equals, now I'm in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is when y equals whatever term x is going to come first, and your constant is at the end. So here I have y equals 3x minus 10. Slope-intercept form, when it's in slope-intercept form, I can identify the slope, which is always m, which is the number before x. So here my slope is positive 3, and then this line intersects at negative 10, right? So b here is my constant, which is my number that is without an x variable, right, or y variable. So here, my y-intercept is negative 10. What I want you to know is that whether I write it in standard form or slope-intercept form, I'm talking about the same line here, you guys. Okay, so that's like me calling, for example, Madeline Maddie, right? She's the same girl. We could just say, we could identify her as Maddie or Madeline, depending on if we're using standard form or slope-intercept form, right? For her, it's whether we're using her birth name or her nickname, right? Another example could be McKenna, that's her birth name, right? Maybe that's standard form. And then slope-intercept form could be Mackie, Mac Attack, whatever you want to call her, right? That's slope-intercept form. Same thing with James, right? We have J-Dog, right? That could be his nickname. His birth name is James, right? So those are just some examples. If we're talking about the same person or the same line, we can just say that name in a couple different forms. Okay, now that we know what slope-intercept and standard form are, okay, I am jumping down to textbook page 167, so I'm just going to walk you through numbers 1 through 4 because this is what you're going to be doing for your homework. So what I need you to be able to do is look at this line on a graph, okay, and your goal is to identify the slope, the y-intercept, and then you need to take that information and put it into slope-intercept form and standard form, okay? So just a reminder, all right, in order for me to find the slope, okay, so slope here is what? My slope is rise over run. Remember we learned that? M equals rise over run. M means slope, you guys, okay? So M is rise over run. The first thing I'm going to do here is identify slope. So I'm going to have to take these 2 points that are here, right? I'm going to start, you always go left to right. So I'm going to come across, this is my first point. So I'm going to go down. To get to my next point, I'm going to go down 2, which is negative 2. And then that's my rise, right? So it's up or down. So I went down 2, and then run, you're going forwards or backwards. So I'm going to go forward 2. So that's positive 2. So then to write this, rise over run, negative 2 over 2 gives me negative 1 for slope. You guys can see that. There we go. All right, so my slope here is negative 1. Okay, then I need to identify b. b is my y-intercept. Okay, so b equals y-intercept. You don't have to write that if you know it, but just in case. B equals y-intercept, which equals what? So my y-intercept, if I find my y-axis, which is here, I come down. There's my point of origin, right? 0, 0. So I go down 1, 2. So negative 2 here is my y-intercept. Okay, now that I have m and b, all we're going to do is substitute m and b for slope-intercept form. So what I learned was what? So this is like all the information I need, okay? So my slope-intercept form, if you look back at what you just copied down in your notes, right? Slope-intercept is y equals mx plus b. This is slope-intercept. That's how I abbreviate SI, slope-intercept. So I want to write the name of this line in slope-intercept form. Okay, so now that I have m and b, I'm just going to substitute. So y equals, instead of m, I'm putting negative 1, x, right? And then b is negative 2. So instead of plus 2, it's not going to be plus b, right? It's going to be negative 2. So b here, positive b, is really what? Negative 2. So this is the name of my line in slope-intercept form, y equals negative 1x minus 2, okay? Again, if I were to identify the slope, it'd be negative 1 over 1, right? That tells me down 1, forward 1, which to prove it, if I go down 1, forward 1, that lands me on my line. It's reduced, okay? Negative 2 over 2 is the same as negative 1 over 1. So my slope here is negative 1x minus 2. So that's in slope-intercept form. To write this, so this is my answer here, slope-intercept form. To write this in standard form, all I'm doing is taking negative 1x and bringing it to the other side of the equal sign. I want x and y to the left of my equal sign. Okay, so I'm jumping the wall, or I'm changing the sign. So negative 1x, right? To get rid of negative 1x on this side, I add its opposite to both sides, or I jump the wall. So to rewrite this, it's going to be positive 1x, positive 1y, equals negative 2, right? I'm left with negative 2 on this side. So this is standard form. I abbreviate that just with ST, standard form. Okay, so that would be my answer for this line. So again, the name of this line in slope-intercept is y equals negative 1x minus 2. I cannot identify that unless I first know the slope and the y-intercept. I have to know m and b. Standard form, I take negative 1x and I bump it to the other side, and therefore I have 1x plus 1y equals negative 2. Okay? Something else I want to note, when you write a name of a line, x and y are always left as x and y, because those are the different points on your line that you can substitute in to solve for x and y, right? Those are like your coordinates, so you always leave those blank. Right? Remember those function tables we talked about? If I substitute, say, 0 for x, what do I get for y? And that point will land me on this line. Okay? So again, x and y always remain x and y, and you're filling in m and b here. Okay, this is problem number 2 on the bottom of page 167. So here we have a horizontal line. What I want you to notice is that they're trying to trip you up here, guys. Okay, so they labeled each of these points as a half, which means they switched up your scale. So when you look here, if this is a half, then each coordinate is what? Negative a quarter, right? So this would be negative 1/4, right? Or negative 0.25. This is negative 1/2. So therefore, this is negative 3/4. Okay. This is a horizontal line. So what is my slope for a horizontal line? My slope is just 0. Remember we said you're walking straight across, so my slope is 0, okay? My y-intercept, or b, is what? If I go straight down, I intersect at just negative 3/4. So now that I have my m and my b, right, to put this into slope-intercept form, I don't know why I put a period in front of that, okay. Slope-intercept form says y equals, you guys see that? mx plus b. So again, I'm just substituting. Instead of 0 for m, instead of m, I'm putting 0, so 0x. And then instead of positive b, I'm putting negative 3/4. That's my y-intercept. Okay, so that's slope-intercept form. Okay, any number times 0 is just going to give me 0, so my actual answer for this is y equals negative 3/4 is how we would simplify this. Y equals negative 3/4, right? Because again, no matter what you substitute for x, any number times 0 is just going to give you 0. So if you wanted to leave it like this, you guys, that's fine. But my simplified answer is y equals negative 3/4. Okay, what you're going to notice here is I don't have an x value. So to put this into standard form, it's just going to be the same. So my answer is in both slope-intercept form and standard form. I don't have an x to bring to the other side. If you left it like this, right, you would just put negative 0x. It really doesn't even make any sense. To the other side, you can't have a negative 0. So I guess that's that, okay? This is your final answer. Y equals negative 3/4. It's a horizontal line. There is no x value. You name a horizontal line by y equals. Okay, this is example 3 on page 167. Okay, so what I want you to notice here, again, we're trying to identify the slope, the y-intercept, and then put the name of this line into slope-intercept form and standard form. So I have all that written out for you, okay? What I want you to notice here is that they change the scale on you. So each of these coordinates are not equal to 1, okay? What they give you here is that this coordinate equals 50, which means how do I get from 0 to 50, right? Each of these coordinates are going to be, what, 25, okay? So like this is 25, 50, this is 75, and this is 100 here. Okay, 25, negative 50. See it? Okay, so now when I do rise over run, okay, I want you to notice something here, okay? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, you guys, is identify our slope. Okay, so I'm going to start always left to right. Because my scale is the same for my x and y axis, what I mean by that is these increments are increments of 25. So 25, 50, 75, 100. This is negative 25, negative 50, negative 75, right? Because I have a scale of 25 for both x and y, I can keep this simple. So to find my slope, to go from this point to this point here, right? I go up how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's plus 4 over 1, 2, forward 2. So positive 4 rise over run positive 2 gives me a slope of 2. I could not do this if my scales were not the same. So say this were like negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, and this were positive 25, 50, right? I'd have to actually do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 and solve for my slope that way using 2 coordinates, okay? But for this example here, my slope is just 2. My y-intercept is right here. That's 100. So my y-intercept is 100. Now that I have all of my information, I can put this into slope-intercept form. So slope-intercept form, again, is y equals mx plus b. And then I'm substituting m and b here. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this as y equals, instead of m, I put 2x, and then b is just positive 100. So this here is in slope-intercept form. Okay, and then to put it into standard form, I'm just going to take 2x and bring it to the other side of the equal sign. So now I have negative 2x plus 1y equals 100. Okay, and this would be in standard form. So those are the names of this is the name of my line in slope-intercept form, and this is the name of my line in standard form. Again, I'm taking 2x and I'm adding its opposite to both sides. So negative 2x cancels it on this side and brings it to my other side. Alright, so I hope this tutorial was helpful. You guys are going to be doing your workbook page, workbook page 185, which is exactly what I did on these examples. So if you need to, you guys go back, watch these videos a couple times if you have to. I highly recommend just going back, looking at it over to refresh your memory a bit. Okay? Alright, take care. Have a great day.